Moishe.
Hello, Mohammed.
So what's new in the news?
Same old stuff. War, crime, sex, politics, sports, corruption. And what are you reading?
The same thing. Except, of course, I'm reading it in Arabic.
Obviously, I'm not ignorant.
Didn't say you were.
So, what are you to point out to me what was obvious?
Please, let's not fight.
Oh, you're saying you don't want to fight? An Arab who does not want to fight a Jew? Oh, amazing.
You think all Arabs want to fight?
From what I see on TV and read in the papers, it's hard for me to think otherwise.
Your attitude doesn't surprise me. The news is slanted. It's biased against Arabs. And we Arabs are no more prone to violence than anybody else.
Really? I don't believe it.
You've closed your mind to the truth and have decided to believe all the lies. But what about the Israelis, huh? Shooting innocent Palestinians and tearing down their homes?
Oh, they're just trying to defend themselves against Arab violence.
You mean they're trying to suppress legitimate Arab rage and anger?
I know where this discussion is leading.
That's right, it's leading right in that direction.
Which is about your favorite topic. Or, should I say, obsession. Trashing Israel.
I don't think that Israel is trash. And when you say Israel, you really mean Palestine.
I actually mean Israel.
It's amazing how stubborn you people are.
And it's shocking how intolerant you people are. The state of Israel is a fact that you Arabs have to accept once and for all.
You mean accepting it on your terms?
No. Rather on the terms of the 1947 UN resolution which partitioned Palestine into 2 states.
Oh, the partition.
That's right.
The 1947 UN vote was a travesty.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. The voting was stacked against the Arabs who were forced to accept what amounted to a U.S. diktat under the guise of the UN resolution.
Not true. The UN vote was an act of justice that the Arabs obstinately refused to accept.
Justice perhaps for the Jews, injustice for the Arabs.
Well, after World War II, something had to be done to help the Jews.
Granted, but why at the expense of the Arabs?
Nobody took anything from the Arabs.
You took our land.
Well, we purchased the land.
We were forced to sell.
And nobody forced the Arabs to do anything.
Then why did so many Palestinians become refugees?
They chose to leave.
Oh. They had to leave. How could any Arab be expected to live in a Jewish state?
You managed to do it. You never left. In fact, legally, you are an Israeli.
I'm a Palestinian, not an Israeli.
You are an Israeli who happens to be Arab.
Cut the crap! I can't stand it anymore!
Who the heck are you?
I am the baboon.
What kind of a name is that?
It's a name that perfectly describes who I am. When I hear phonies like the two of you guys typing political crap, I get all agitated and excited and start jumping up and down, making lots of noise like a baboon. Your political posturing makes me sick and mad. All you're doing is using the Mideast crisis to listen to yourselves talk, not to solve problems. So, cut the bullshit. Get down to brass tacks. Now what's gripping both of you guys? Come on, Mohammed. Tell Moshe the real reason why you're so pissed off at him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure you know. You just don't want to admit it.
No, I really don't.
Okay. Let me refresh your memory. Remember what happened back in 1948 when Israel took over?
Kind of.
Kind, you say. How could you ever forget it? Moshe came marching onto your land and gave you 10 minutes to leave. Remember that now?
Wait a minute. I never marched into anyone's land.
What are you talking about? You Israelis came in like gangbusters and told every Palestinian you could find that they gotta leave or else.
That's right. That's exactly what happened. With some nerve. Marching onto my land like that. You broke into my home and in front of my wife threatened to kill me if I didn't leave. My wife almost died.
That's not true.
Not true, you say? Weren't you a soldier in the Israeli army in 1948?
I was, but I never forced my way into anybody's land.
You're a damn no good liar. I remember it like it happened yesterday. You were like a stormtrooper. You barged right into my home, terrorized my family, and told me to get the hell out. Because of you, my entire family had to flee. We had to leave everything behind except the clothes on our backs. Disaster. Who are you to do this to me, huh? I want my home back. We demand the right to return to our homes, so get off my land.
Look, I have no idea what you're talking about. You must be confusing me with someone else.
No confusion. Certainly to you. You had a whole company of soldiers with you. 50 of you against 1 of me. Never did you any harm. Why did you have to come after me? What did I ever do to you, huh? Get off my land!
Now, the both of you are talking, having some real down-to-earth communication. Don't you think so, Moshe?
I don't know what to think.
Let me help you recollect. According to your army discharge papers, which I read, you served in the Israeli army from 1947 to 1971 and retired with the rank of major. Also, according to that document, and by the way, I have an excellent memory, in 1948 you were awarded a Medal of Valor during operations to clear out the Palestinians from the Galilee.
And that's where I lived. So you see, it was you who threw me off my land.
You know, that paperwork doesn't prove a thing.
And you received a Medal of Honor? For what? For fighting unarmed civilians like me and my family? Did my wife and children pose a threat to you?
Well, maybe not to me personally, but your people did.
Oh. So you admit it. It was you who barged into my house.
I haven't admitted any such thing.
You have a lot of explaining to do. And not just to me, but to the entire world. No. I was born in Palestine, which was renamed Israel when I was just born.
Well, same with me. Yet, I'm an Israeli, not a Palestinian. So why can't you call yourself an Israeli too?
Because Palestine is our land, not yours, and you took it from us by force.
So it's given to us by the United Nations.
A vote that was stacked against the entire Arab world.
And before them, it was the British mandate.
Now, the British were merely caretakers, who should have relinquished control of Palestine to the Arabs.
Not so. In 1917, the British promised the Jews a homeland.
Oh, you're talking about the Balfour Declaration, aren't you?
That's right.
Balfour Declaration was an outrage.
The Balfour Declaration was an act of justice.
The British had no right and no valid cause to promise the Jewish people anything.
They did have a right, and they exercised the right.
What they did was just plain wrong. You know, during World War I, the British and the Arabs, we fought as allies. But apparently that meant nothing to them.
Well, the only reason why you fought with the British was to overthrow the Ottoman Empire. Under those circumstances, you would have allied yourselves with anybody who was fighting the Turks.
Yeah, that's right. But we fought to gain our freedom, not to establish the framework for the founding of a Jewish state. You know, to me, the Balfour Declaration marks the start of our present difficulties.
Then, what were the British expected to do?
Grant us independence.
But it wasn't your country.
We were living there, in a region that was almost entirely Arab.
But Jews were living there too.
Oh, your political grandstanding is driving me crazy. Can't you guys level with each other? Poor Mohammed, thrown off his land, sounding like some kind of bereaved victim.
I was a victim.
It's first-class baloney. You're one nasty son of a gun.
What do you mean?
Well, tell him why.
After I moved to your village, you tried to kill me. No way! I just arrived from Europe. My entire family was gone. You know, I was the sole survivor. There was no one else. I was on my own and had nothing except the clothes on my back. Well, I moved into the little hut that was right next to your farm, and the next thing I knew that you were throwing rocks at me, although I had done nothing to you. Is that how you Arabs normally treat your neighbors?
No, that wasn't you. That was somebody else.
No, it was me you were attacking. Anyway, after that kind of treatment, I decided I had to join the Israeli army in order to defend myself. After the horrible way I was treated in Europe, there was no way that I was going to let anyone treat me that way again. Not by you or anybody.
You were trespassing.
No. That little hut was mine. I had purchased it with a local kibbutz.
That local kibbutz had no right selling my land.
It wasn't your land, it was Israeli land that the kibbutz had purchased fair and square.
Oh, that's crap. That land was mine.
You don't know what you're talking about. The kibbutzim offered you a lot of money, and yet you refused.
I had the right to refuse.
But you didn't have a right to attack me.
Never attacked you.
I still have the scars for the rocks that you threw at me. You know, you were a wild man. You're worse than the Nazis.
Well, I was wild. Who invited you to come to Palestine?
The Israeli government.
Your bogus government.
Listen, I'm not going to quibble with you. Maybe what I should do is kick your butt right now.
Oh, come on and try.
Now we're talking.
I know that. But look, the Jews were only a small minority.
Who wanted to have their own country too.
Yes, in a place already inhabited by Arabs.
You know, we keep talking in circles. The fact is that the British did promise the Jews their own homeland.
A gratuitous promise made in a cynical attempt to maintain Western domination over the Arabs.
No.
It's the truth. Given how the Arabs aided the British during World War I, can you honestly say that the Balfour Declaration was fair, that it was just?
Well, Palestine had been the Jewish homeland too.
2,000 years ago.
That's right. And although we were defeated and dispersed, we never disappeared as a people, who want to preserve our link with the past.
While at the same time conveniently disregarding the present.
Well, what are we supposed to do? Forget the
Not
past?
forget your past, but take into consideration present circumstance.
Like how the Arabs refused to coexist with us?
Were we expected to passively welcome a massive influx of Westerners into land settled by centuries by us? Huh?
Well, it was our land before it was
And
yours.
your people lost it. So why should the Arabs have to give back something that was no longer yours? Especially when your loss was not our responsibility. The Arabs did not evict you from Palestine. That was the Romans. So if you have any complaints, you can take it up with them.
Ha ha, don't be so funny.
Don't you be so stupid.
And don't you be so nasty.
How am I being nasty? Because I disagree with you?
No, because of your insensitivity to the needs of the Jewish people. You know, we deserve a homeland too.
Well, you have your homeland. Except that it's at the expense of the Arabs who were dispossessed from their land.
That's not true. After World War I, Palestine became a British mandate, not an independent Arab state. And the British had the authority to create a Jewish homeland.
That is utter rubbish.
Nevertheless, these are the facts. So instead of fighting with the Jews, the Arabs ought to take their complaints to the British and the United Nations, which ratified the founding of the Jewish state.
Once again, I repeat, the Jewish state was forced upon the Arabs. And the UN vote was just a front for maintaining Western influence in the region. The Jews were convenient pawns in achieving this
Your
goal.
argument is ridiculous. Israel was founded not to further the goals of Western imperialism or to suppress the Arabs, but because it was the wish of the Jewish people to have their own independent state.
Oh, come on, don't be a fool. Did the Jews hold a plebiscite on the issue?
Of course not. But the Zionist movement was deeply rooted in Jewish history and theology.
That's right. And that's why it was convenient for the Jews to become pawns in the struggle between East and West.
That's not true. You know, what you're saying is pure speculation.
Given Europe's history of anti-Semitism, it should be no surprise that the West would have been more than happy to promote the creation of a Jewish state outside of Europe.
You know, that's garbage. The Jewish people themselves were responsible for the founding of the Jewish state. In fact, after World War II, the British did everything they could to block Jewish immigration to Palestine.
The fact is that the British still favored the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine.
But what you guys are talking about now? The Jewish people, British, Europe. Why can't you guys just talk to each other?
We are talking to each other.
No, you're not. You're talking at each other. All you're doing is hiding behind your words. Why don't you get down to brass tacks?
I thought that's what we were doing.
You two guys are the biggest jerks in the world, and that's saying a lot, especially in a world where real intelligence is rare and often abused commodity.
What are you talking about?
Tell him why you are so pissed off at him.
I don't want to go there.
What's the matter? Too much of a wimp to tell the truth?
Well, I'm not a wimp!
You're just
Too painful.
You're just an inflated windbag who blows out noise just to relieve himself.
Kate. Okay. You tried to bang my wife.
What?
After you barged into my house at the point of a gun, you grabbed my wife, ripped off her shawl, and tried to rape her.
This is too much.
You tried to make her do all kinds of disgusting things that I can't even mention.
You know,
All the time forcing me to watch it was horrible.
you're hallucinating.
Hallucinating, is he? I remember having read a certain newspaper article from January 23rd, 1943, which included a large photograph of Palestinian women being herded into a detention center by Israeli soldiers. Seems to me like you guys were very busy rounding up the ladies.
I don't know what either one of you is talking about. The detaining of the Palestinian women was a purely defensive measure. And after screening, they were released. Some of the most fanatical terrorists were women. Regarding your wife, I never touched her.
You philandering bastard. You're not man enough to have a woman of your own, so you screw another man's wife? I saw what I saw. It was you.
First, at the time I was married. Second, it wasn't me. Indeed, during my services as an Israeli soldier, I never abused any women.
You treated us the same way the Nazis treated the Jews, except we refused to take it.
Actually, they turned the whole matter to the United Nations.
They did that because they could no longer impose their will on the Arabs, which was to accept the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine.
But what were the Jews supposed to do after World War II?
That was a matter for the Jews and for the countries of Europe to resolve.
And it was finally resolved through the founding of the State of Israel.
Exactly my point. Israel was founded with the support of the West, which was more than happy to accommodate the needs of the Jewish people in order to maintain Western domination over the Middle East.
You know, your distorted ideas ignore the fact that the Jews alone fought for the creation of Israel.
But you're forgetting that you did so with the help of the United Nations, which endorsed your cause and denied us our right to self-determination. And what good did it do, huh? Over 50 years later, we're still fighting.
You mean the Jews are still defending themselves against the Arabs?
Don't put words in my mouth. My words are clear. The Jews and the Arabs are at war. So why don't you find that ironic? Two Semitic peoples fighting each other. Why should we be fighting? The Arabs never persecuted the Jews. In fact, even under the Ottoman Turks, the Jews were protected.
Well, then instead of opposing us, the Jews should have welcomed us.
On what basis?
As friends, like King Faisal's son, Amir Faisal, advocated in 1919.
But you didn't come as friends. the Jews came to Palestine as emissaries of the West. Our land was partitioned. 2 states were set up and the Jews were filled with joy, while the Arabs, denied control over their own land, left. Were we supposed to accept that?
Well, the Jews needed a Jewish homeland.
Which was created without Arab consent. That was the gross injustice committed against the Arab people.
Well, what about the injustices committed against the Jewish people?
Whose fault was that? Certainly not the Arabs.
Well, it was a long history of persecution against the Jews that made it urgent that the Jews have their own
It was
nation.
persecution by the West, not by the Arabs.
And a bitter persecution it was, which made the creation of a Jewish state all the more imperative.
But why? Why was there such a rush to create a Jewish state after World War II? The Nazis were defeated. The Jews were liberated. So what made the need for a Jewish state so urgent?
Well, the events that took place during the war proved that the